through this dusty temple as you shadow fear. Breathe your breath of life into all people. Come into this circle. Come into our circle. Into the south, the power of fire. Burn us with your passion and your love's desire. Strengthen our will and take our spirit higher. Come into this circle. Come into our circle. Into the west, the power of water. Rain on us, cleanse your sons and daughters. As we drink you in, will you flow in us? Come into this circle. Come into our circle. Into the north, my goddess, the earth, all wrapped in the beauty of your death and rebirth. Open up our hearts so we will honor you first. Come into this circle. Come into our circle. Round and round we go. Dear goddess, please don't let this end as we complete the circle. Without defenses, no pretense. Round and round we go. My heart and head will start to spin, but I know you, so here and now, you open up and let me in. I swim inside our love. You make me feel so me, yeah. So me, yeah, yeah. Round and round we go. How could we make this more complete? Out on the endless circle, dancing to the endless beat. Unprotected hearts can find places no one else can go. Undiluted intentions, leaving nothing else to show. You swim inside our love. I make you feel so you, yeah. So you, yeah, yeah. Round and round we go. Dear goddess, please don't let this end.
All right, and welcome once again to Pagan FM. We just heard the Circle song from Wheel Pagan Chorus off their album Elemental Children of Earth. We're coming to you right here from South Jersey, the home of the Jersey Devil. Not quite live tonight. I'm across the river in the city of brotherly love at a concert by one Edith Pageaud, a young French classical guitarist, which is why tonight's program is pre-recorded. Still, this is a brand new episode of Pagan FM. At some point, I may consider bringing back some of the legacy episodes from years gone by. Not planning on doing that just yet, but maybe at some point in the future. I'll have to go through them first. Got a few things to think about before that might happen. For now, I'm hoping to do things as live and original as possible. With that, let's close the circle and open the show. We've got some new artists this week in the library. A special thanks to Wendy Rule, Blackmore's Night, Candice Night, and of course, Wheel Pagan Chorus, who we just heard from. Not going to do the weather right now because, well, we're not live, but it has taken a turn for colder weather, so it's been down in the 20s and 30s. So for you folks in the Philly area, we were kind of tricked into say, weather in the 30s, 40s, and 50s the past few days. Now it's down in the 20s and 30s. So we'll hear a little bit of new music or a little more music, maybe some new. We'll see what happens. And then I'll go into some opening comments.
Watched you on a TV. Right honourable gentlemen, apparently. Different voices with only one aim: to win my vote and to win the game. Now some have died to pave the way, so we can vote come polling day. X marks the spot that gives us our voice. But how do we vote when there isn't a choice? If you thought that we would do nothing, you've misunderstood. For we are the sons and daughters of Robin Hood. This time around the stone, and the poll tax riots of Trafalgar Square. The rich, they got richer, the poor were stripped bare. Building new roads with no thought for the land, and the blood of the bean field is still on your hands. Now drilling off Shetland will do you just fine, and you wanted to sell off our forests like you closed down mines. If you thought that we would do nothing, you've misunderstood. For we are the sons and daughters of Robin Hood. There's nothing to see, there's nothing to see, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see, won't you just look away? There's nothing to see here. Oh, England's green and pleasant land is not there to put cash in your hands. I see your symbol is the English oak tree. Is that your idea of irony? Now millions of eyes have turned upon you, and each one is watching what you will do. understood. For we are the sons and daughters of Robin Hood.
All right, so that was Dave the Bard with Sons and Daughters of Robin Hood from his album Antlered Crown and Standing Stone. I think it probably goes without saying why I might have chose that particular piece, given the political situation in the United States today, especially with the forces that be, Carolyn Levitt and others, trying to convince the citizens in this country that they're trying to suppress some sort of organized effort against what the government is trying to do, rather than some sort of groundswell of organic revolt against what people legitimately see as an overstep of some sort of police state that this country never really voted for. We don't want it. And I think that Dave really captured some of the sentiment in this piece of music. So thank you, Dave, for putting to words and music some of the feeling that we're feeling right now. Anyway, after reading the Sea Priestess and speaking about it last week, and while I certainly don't place myself on anywhere near the same level as Dion Fortune, I've come to something of a realization, and that is that throughout my life, perhaps because it was in part being born with an intersex condition into a conservative Christian family, and therefore never feeling as if I was able to rise to anyone's expectations, especially my own, I've always felt as if there has been something lacking in my life. I've always been looking for something more. And this year, with the rebirth of Pagan FM and getting in touch with this aspect of my spirituality, I think I might be at the point where I can begin to understand, as I did LaFay Morgan in The Sea Priestess, that the role of teacher, which is something I've been drawn to, might be what I am. I've taught guitar, I've taught amateur radio classes from the beginner technician class through the extra class levels, and a few people have learnt something, and some have found sobriety through my book, The Pagan in Recovery. And maybe that's one of the one of the points of magical training. Perhaps it's the lesson I've been waiting to learn. I've learned bits about who I was. I've come to terms with portions of me. But I think the goal is, as was inscribed in the Temple of Apollo in Greece, Gnothi Sauton, if I pronounce that right. Know thyself. Not just bits of us, but more completely, day by day. Indeed, that ought to be the purpose of any spiritual tradition. But in sanitized religions, as Dion Fortune put it in The Sea Priestess, in spiritual scurvy, the goal is to diminish the self, or to replace the self, the personality, with something that is acceptable to the church. the community, the cult. In many communities, you might hear reference to, in the Bible, John 3:30, "He must increase, but I must decrease," in an attempt to suggest that somehow we are to ignore ourselves and place all of our emphasis on Christ. But what John was actually saying was that his ministry must be focused on Christ, that it wasn't about himself. In other words, his wasn't a self-centered ministry. But in groups suffering from spiritual scurvy, whether Christian or pagan or any other group, it's about balance. We can get too caught up in ourselves, too caught up in service, too caught up in ritual, too caught up in any single aspect of our lives. It's kind of ironic in receiving the book in reviewing the book that I'm reviewing this week, Scott Cunningham's Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. I received it from Amazon, completely defaced with the word Jesus written about 14 times all over the cover, and once inside. Apparently, someone thinks that their God is so weak that they need to deface literature in order to spread the word. Actually, I'll get into this a bit later. But it is truly a weak faith that is so offended in the mere existence of competing faith traditions. But speaking of gnothe seoton, in knowing ourselves, we can come to recognize where our own strengths and weaknesses are. We can come to understand where we are lacking and build those areas up. We can become stronger and more effective as teachers, as leaders, as servants to our fellow travelers in our spiritual journeys. And so this week I want to discuss pagan pedagogy. And the starting point of that is really knowing ourselves. We can't teach what we don't understand. We can't share experiences we haven't had. We can't guide someone in situations that we don't understand. Teachers require some basic qualities. They require patience, integrity, wisdom, knowledge, and more than anything else, curiosity. So in our Practical Pagan segment, I'll discuss what I think it takes to become a teacher in a pagan context. In our review, I'll look at Wicca, A Guide to the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham, who was one of the, somewhat earlier neo-pagan authors, and who kind of bucked the system in the early 1980s, teaching that Wicca didn't need to be a coven-based system, that one could practice on one's own. Sadly, he was also one of those we lost in the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s and 1990s. Personally, I believe that magic is more powerful when in a group setting, when there is that synergistic love and trust between participants. However, I feel that the phrase perfect love and perfect trust is thrown about a bit too cavalierly, with people saying it to enter a circle with people they don't even know. Trust and love are things that are gained and earned with time and experience in a group. I would not expect someone to utter those words on their first entry into a circle. Certainly, they might be traditional, but if someone enters a circle uttering those words but not really knowing what to expect, not knowing the individuals to their left or right, is what they're saying true? And if those first words are untrue, what of the rest of the ritual? But all of this is talk for another episode, perhaps one on ritual. At this point, I guess I just want to get on with the show. Let's listen to a little more music, and then we'll move forward with our Practical Pagan segment.
flame, the fire, the gateway to our soul's desire. Gateway to the world below. Gateway to our soul's river. Walking, gently walking, precious mother under me. With each step I am thankful, precious mother to be. Blessed by your love and grace, my heart is free. Walking, gently walking, precious mother with thee. Brother hawk is flying, soaring high now over me. Messenger of wisdom, open my heart, set me free. Spirit has given the strength I did need, filled with sacred power. Thank you, Mother, under me, precious Mother, under me. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. In the stillness of the dream time, you sent your sign unto me, and the seeds that you have planted I will nurture, they will be born of the highest truth. I will stand free, walking in your power, precious Mother under me. Oh, grandmother under me. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. May I sing forth from the center of your breath that flows through me. I will be the hollow bone you ask for me to be. Love flow to every soul, that all may be free, and feel the healing power from the Mother, let it be. Oh, grandmother, it will be. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ho.
So in that bit, we heard Wendy Rule with Circle Song from her album Wolf Sky, Telergy with Teacher from the album Hypatia, and Denian with Gently Walking from her album The Weaving. And before we get on with the Practical Pagan, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I consider to be, as Dion Fortune so rightly put it, spiritual scurvy. And again, in our review this week, I'll be talking about Scott Cunningham's book, Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. And I mentioned how I got my copy received kind of defaced. And I do have to wonder what it is that leads people to deface books that they don't like. And I recall reading, so in part of my recovery from cults, I did a lot of study. And I came to realize that part of what leads people to do things like that, to become offended at the mere existence of other religions, part of it is control. It's this cult-like indoctrination. It's the fear that is induced by religious leaders who don't wish to face declining memberships. So they declare other religions as sinful, demonic, and evil. They instill thought-stopping techniques. They create rules regarding the interaction with members of other religions, the reading, indeed even the permission of the existence of literature from other religions. So one example would be the Baltimore Catechism in the Catholic Church. This document actually advocates for the destruction of any books or newspapers or magazines that are considered bad or immodest. So, the Baltimore Catechism consists of a series of questions and answers, and there's 4 volumes, and each volume is geared towards a certain age level. So you've got Volume 1, which was for younger readers, Volume 2, which was more high school level, and then Volume 3 was more for adults, and then Volume 4 was more an explanatory document. So anyway, if you look at questions 1286 through 1288, so does the 6th commandment forbid the reading of bad, immodest books and newspapers? Answer: the 6th commandment does forbid the reading of bad and immodest books and newspapers. Question 1287. What should be done with immodest books and newspapers? A. Immodest books and newspapers should be destroyed as soon as possible, and if we cannot destroy them ourselves, we should induce their owners to do so. 1288. What books does the Church consider bad? The Church considers bad all books containing teaching contrary to the faith, morals, or that willfully misrepresent Catholic doctrine and practice. This speaks directly to the cult-like behavior of information control. And if you were to go to the Baltimore, or if you were to go to the Baltimore Catechism or the New Catechism of the Catholic Church, for that matter, you would find that it ticks all the marks for behavior, information, thought, and emotion control, as Stephen Hassan put it, the BITE model. The Baltimore Catechism, which is still valid, simply did it more succinctly than the newer version. Literally, the Catholic Church officially sanctions book burning. But that is a symptom of an insecure faith. It's a faith that is so tenuous that it cannot stand up next to another faith beside it. It is afraid of not even competition, but the simple existence of another way of seeing deity. It is a fragile and a weak faith, and it is a fragile and weak faith that requires stern hands and rigid rules to keep its members in line. And that is what liberal faiths paganism, liberal Christianity, Unitarian Universalism, Quakerism, and others have to offer. We aren't afraid of the existence of other religions. We don't have gods and goddesses who are intimidated by the mere existence of others, or the belief in others, or by the fact that some don't believe. We recognize that there are many ways of being, and it is this rich tapestry that makes our world beautiful. If rainbows were simply black and white, or simply white, they would perhaps still have their own beauty, but they wouldn't be the same. So I guess now I consider myself a Quaker and a pagan. I'm rebelling against the Christian moniker in part because of what so many Christians have done in recent years. Then again, I've always had a soft spot for the goddess, Bridget in particular, and for Celtic deities in general. As I've mentioned, I guess that may have something to do with my Breton heritage. And there isn't a great deal of information about there of Brythonic pre-Christian deities, but we do know that they are very much related to the Welsh, to the point that when the Christian church was being established, the monks and monasteries for both Brittany and Wales were the same. So I guess I feel comfortable dealing with Celtic deities in general, and Welsh deities in particular, in my practice as I have been. But I don't know. That's another digression. I go all over the place. That's the way my brain works. I've also had a good deal of experience with cults, which is part of the reason why my brain goes in many places. Chalk that up to DID. I've managed to get out of a series of them, and it's been a huge bit of education in coming to understand what happened to me in the process. This was the reason I went through the entire Baltimore Catechism, all 4 volumes. It's why I purchased the New Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's why I've read so much about the Mormon Church, of which I was also a member, and the Bible Speaks, and other churches. Cults are about control, and the Catholic Church is all about control, which is why it advocates for the destruction of literature that it doesn't like. And whoever defaced my copy of Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner, may feel proud of what they did, but I'll bet they're not proud of being in a cult, because they don't yet understand that they are part of a cult. But a religion that produces freedom, a religion that isn't suffering from spiritual scurvy, simply doesn't do these things. People who are afraid, people who are living in fear, people who are a member of cults, these are the people who do that sort of thing.
Dark in the boiler room of plenty, we stoke the bankers' fires, soaked in the sweat of the working 4 and 20, each day until the pyre. Oh, but don't you dream of the day when the watchword is deliverance, and we finally take what's ours. You can believe in magic, you can believe in fancies, call it a higher love, but people gotta change the way things are. Hey, change the way things are. Change the way things are. What will they do, to stem the mighty anger when we wake the teeming horde? Keep us asleep while the soothing tones of angels sing, wait for your reward. We don't hear them here in the world while we feed the hungry turbines. We're pounding out our swords. You can believe in magic, you can believe in fancies, call it a higher love, but people gotta change the way things are. Change the way things are. Hey, change the way things are. Oh. change the way things are.
Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. No more gods and no more masters. Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. No more gods and no more masters. Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. No more gods and no more masters. Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. No more gods and no more masters. Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. No more gods and no more masters. Burn the bodies and scatter the ashes. You can believe in magic. You can believe in fancies. Call it a higher love, but people gotta change the way things are.
Change the way things are. Hey. Ha, ha. Change the way things are. Ha, ha. Make no mistake, there are those who would deny us, them that own the tools. Dare you believe liberation will just find us, and a crumb will fall to you? No, we take it, and when we're here, give it back and trust our kindness. Ha. Let us not be fools. You can believe in magic, you can believe in fancies. Call it a higher love, but people gotta change the way things are. Change the way things are. Yeah. Change the way things are. Yeah. Change the way things are. People gotta 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 change the way things are.
Derwinna di rundaile the skodan diwa ar wir glen Gani di wel da vi gelo o flatai clear my hand Derwinna di Neon Maya Sika Nis please drown Nis Kakure Kakalawe the Kengon Ere Play Klabrafa Derwinna di John Lekwe No va Tears so high I need you well da vigelo Feda Claim Hafe that grows between two wells. You darken the sky, you shade the dell. Unless I speak not the truth, here lies the heart, the scattered flesh of clay, and oak that grows lofty plain, unburnt by fire, unwet by rain. by storms with 20 charms, sure and declare an oak that grows beneath the steep, noblest of the princess keep. Lest I speak not the truth, then from your arms and into mine will fall
By a very will, the right is done. With Lord and Lady watching hand in hand, by power of earth and rain, flame
All right, so we just heard from Gaia Consort with Change the Way Things Are from their album Evolve. Emerald Rose with Gwydion Song Toulouse from their album Archives of Ages to Come. And S.J. Tucker with For the Love of All Who Gather from her album Blessings. And it's time for our Practical Pagan segment. So tonight I want to talk a bit about pagan pedagogy. So firstly, what is pedagogy? And that is really kind of the study of teaching. And in spiritual teaching, there are a great many approaches. In ancient times, children might have been purpose raised for a specific position. Even in modern times, the Dalai Lama is trained beginning in childhood. Today, though, most religious instruction is more broad and cursory and less focused for a clerical goal at a young age. But in most religious traditions, it's going to be more cursory, and you don't get trained for a particular purpose until you're more an adult. In our pagan communities, most of us come into this path from some other tradition. I dare say that the majority of us might be disillusioned Christians. However we got here, though, we needed to learn. And what did we find? There are a few ways to learn. There are books, correspondence groups, open groups, and there are covens or initiatory groups. And each way is a different way of teaching and a different way of learning. While almost anyone can learn to do something via cause and effect, to, for example, start a fire with friction or flint and steel, it takes a special kind of individual to teach something more abstract. So let's first look at who might become an effective teacher. In my years, I've seen many who yearned to become teachers, not only in pagan traditions, but in Christianity, as in pastors, in martial arts, as black belts, running their own studios, or yoga instructors, Reiki masters, what have you. And I've seen many who have become successful, and I've seen many who failed. I think it's important to consider at the outset what one's goals are as one embarks on a career as a teacher. In paganism, I've seen a number of individuals who attempt to create some sort of new tradition. Others are probably more realistic and seek to set up pagan communities or groups for communal celebrations. Some work under existing organizations, such as CUPS, the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans. The thing is that organizing a group under the umbrella of an existing organizational structure gives an individual the ability to get something going with something of an organized framework already being done. But others will have to start from scratch. And in this case, everything is done from the ground up, from ritual structure to finding a location for holding rituals to organizational structure. All of it needs to be designed and executed. Some might not wish to start an organization at all, but might look instead to opt for one-on-one teaching or to keep things really small. And that's much easier than trying to start an entire organization, but it is still a huge responsibility. And the thing is that when someone starts teaching even a single student, it can evolve over time. So when do you know you're ready to teach? First things first, what's your motivation? Why do you want to teach? Do you think you have something unique to share? Do you have a unique way to share what you know? Do you have a particular talent for sharing what you know? Have you been told more than once that you're really good at explaining things? Have you been studying for a sufficient amount of time to have amassed enough knowledge to keep students engaged? I remember the first time I started taking guitar lessons. My first teacher was a girl who was playing guitar at my church. I wanted to join the music ministry, and I'd bought a guitar. One of the girls volunteered to teach me, and I had about 6 lessons with her, at which point she had taught me pretty much everything she knew. To be fair, I'd had piano lessons prior to that, so I knew something about music. But we had gone through the notes on the first few frets of each of the 6 strings. We'd gone through the basic chords for most of the songs that the music group used. And we'd gone through the basic strumming patterns for 4/4, 3/4, 2/4. and that was as far as she could take me. Do I regret those lessons? Not at all. I did learn from her. And she didn't really present herself as a professional guitar teacher. She presented herself as someone who could teach me something about the guitar. But she wasn't actually what I would call a real guitar teacher. So what would it mean if someone were to claim to be a teacher of Wicca or witchcraft or paganism or druidism or what have you? The question to ask yourself is this: what do you have to offer? What can you actually teach? When I first started Pagan FM quite a few years ago, that was a serious question. I wondered who I was to be speaking to whatever audience I had at the time. I'd been studying with my own teacher for some years, and I'd been listening to a number of podcasts for a while, and I had done extensive research and study in the tradition I was being trained in. And my teacher and I often had some amazing disagreements. I also had extensive discussions with another friend who owned an occult shop in a nearby town, and I'd been participating in a couple of cups groups. I wasn't exactly green, and as time passed, I get involved in a number of other events, gave some workshops, and broadened my own experience. But starting my own tradition wasn't really in the cards for me. Doing what I'm now, that's what seemed to fit. I guess what I'm saying is that if you feel called to teach, it takes some discernment to figure out exactly what form that teaching ought to take. And you really need to be honest about your own motivations. There have been too many people who started religious organizations solely for the purpose of taking advantage of others. Some have done so financially, some sexually, and this isn't only in Christian churches. In Christian churches, we have those prosperity teachers who bilk poor people out of their entire life savings. We have had the abuse scandals of the Catholic Church and others, and believe me, this isn't confined to Christian churches. It has infected paganism as well. One of the interviews I did in the original Pagan FM wound up being with one such abuser, and after I learned of the case, the episode was removed, and that person's music was never aired again. What I was glad about was that there was zero defense of that individual by the larger pagan community, and that individual spent the rest of his life in prison. The thing about the pagan community is that we have no guardrails. In larger churches, we can, or we ought to expect the larger organization to be able to do some sort of due diligence, some background checks to ensure that the individuals who wish to become pastors, teachers, church leaders are capable and qualified. In paganism, we don't have that. There are some organizations, in Maine there is, or at least was, the Maine Pagan Clergy Association. The last time I looked, their website hadn't been updated in a couple of years, that do support clergy and provide for the ordination and such for the purpose of state licensure. But we really don't have actual organized churches. We're really on our own, both as clergy and as individuals seeking instruction. I guess that the best way we can know if we're ready to teach in the pagan community comes down to a few different situations. Firstly, if you're part of a group and the leadership of that group recognizes you as a teacher and asks you to teach, then it's pretty clear. Number two, if people who know you and have asked you if you would be willing to teach, either individually or in workshop settings, that could be a sign. Number three, you might feel some sort of calling to teach, so you sign up to offer a workshop and discover that it goes over really well. You discover that you have a talent for it after all. Each of these is a possibility, and there are certainly others. In the end, though, say you've decided to teach. Here's my advice. First, decide on what format you might want to do that. You might, like me, want to start a podcast, or you might want to do one-on-one teaching. You might want to form a small group or a coven. You might think that you've got something really special and decide that you want to grow your own tradition. Whatever it is, start small. First things first, work it out. Outline what it is that you're trying to do. Listen to my show. If you listen to my show, you'll find that each episode follows something of a sequence. I have an opening, that's pretty much the same. I have my opening comments. I acknowledge the new artists for the week. I look at the local weather for the week of the show. I have the Practical Pagan segment, a review, the Pagan FM Almanac, the Herb of the Week, currently the Oppression Watch, and my closing comments. The music that I play tries to support what I'm talking about in the program as much as I'm able to. And I'm planning each episode weeks in advance. As I'm producing this program, I'm reading next week's book for review, and I'm working on that, as well as selecting music for that show. I've got the following week's book in hand, and I'm formulating an outline for that program. In the background, I'm contacting artists whose music I'd like to air. It's a lot of work. You don't have to have a complete plan, but it's important to have something of an outline, a plan, an abstract. When you start teaching lessons, it's important to have a starting point, path, and a destination. Try to have that in mind, at least, as you go about your plan. It's really easy to have a basic idea and then get caught up, but never make it to your planned destination. Sometimes that's okay. Spirit will lead where spirit will lead, but a ship without a rudder will rarely get you where you wish to go. Having a plan in mind while you're teaching will help both you and your students feel grounded. It keeps the energy flowing. It also gives your students confidence, not only in you as an instructor, but in what they're learning, and therefore in their ability while they're learning and going forward. And that's the ultimate goal. Teaching, especially in esoteric subjects, is a commitment to your students that often goes beyond classroom time. Remember that what we're teaching here is spiritual, not simply academic. As a spiritual discipline, when we decide to teach, we have become more than teachers. We have become also, of a sort, ministers or spiritual leaders, and that should give us pause. I've known a number of people who wanted minister credentials solely for the purpose of setting up a business as a wedding consultant or officiant. Personally, that disgusted me. If they wanted that, they could have also become a justice of the peace. They became a minister in mind for nothing but a secular purpose, which to me seemed a gross contradiction. I recall the very first wedding I performed. It was a same-sex marriage, one of the first in the state of New Hampshire, and shortly afterwards I filled in for a justice of the peace who became ill. I performed a wedding for a dear friend and his partner, and then not long after, he called me after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer to ask if I'd be willing to perform his memorial service after he died. Teaching as a pagan means ministry. It means being there, not only to instruct, but being there when a student needs you. Not only in the happy times, but in the sad times, because that's what it's all about. Some states don't recognize pagan clergy. Some do. Some of us will get credentials from groups like the Universal Life Church, just to have something of a credential. In Maine, there is, or was again, I'm not sure of the current status of the MPCA. Then again, other churches run into similar problems. Quakers have no ordained clergy. We have a clerk, but we consider each of us as clergy. So if you see a wedding certificate signed by Quakers, it can be pages long. But however we look at it, if you're taking on yourself the role of a teacher, if you have students, if you're teaching a spiritual path, you are a minister, the same as a rabbi, a priest, a priestess. It's a big deal. And that's why I didn't say it early on. That's why I've been kind of building up to it. It's not something you jump into when, so to speak, you've only had 6 guitar lessons. If you are part of a teaching coven, what you might find is that as you approach your first degree, the high priest or high priestess might start giving you more to do. They might start having you teach some beginners classes. This is your introduction to the world of teaching. This is what an initiated witch is supposed to be doing. This usually happens after about the first year of instruction. And if one of your goals is teaching, I'd really recommend looking for such a group. They can be truly helpful in your quest. And as you grow in experience, they might be open to the idea of letting you offer classes that you might have ideas for that they haven't offered before. I think one of the things that I love about paganism that doesn't exist in much of Christianity, especially in conservative Christianity, is that most of paganism isn't formulaically dogmatic. In much of Christendom, there are the creeds, the catechisms, the confessions, things that must be adhered to. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some branches of paganism that have some strict dogmas. There are the hard polytheists, for example. But for the most part, we are a liberal lot, able to recognize that there are many ways of believing what we believe. Some of us believe that all gods are one god. Some of us believe in many gods and many goddesses. Some of us believe in a god and a goddess. But even in this, we can generally all get along, because what matters is that we all believe that love is what matters most. Anyway, if you truly feel led to teach, by all means do so. And here are the steps. 1. Commit to doing it for the right reason. 2. Commit to being a perpetual learner. 3. Commit to being there for your students. And 4, remember that being a teacher implies being a minister, a priestess, a priest. Teaching a spiritual path is not the equivalent to academic teaching.
Today has been an eerie day, an empty day for truth. And though it's ending in confusion, I feel much closer to you. I do not know your name, I don't know where you're from, but I've seen this city take its toll. But it's no matter what they take from me, they'll not infect my soul. I'll always sing my highest, I'll always dance the night away. I'll always fly to freedom. My heart beats on as long as there are drums to play. Away, 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 I will stomp my sorrow, I will sob my grief, but I'll not crumble in fear. Come all you healers, sing it out with me until it's only peace that we can hear. We no longer have the living luxury of reveling in the fight. For now we understand our purpose here lies in a holding the light. We'll always sing our highest, we'll always dance the night away.
right, it's time for a review, and this week we're looking at Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner by Scott Cunningham, originally published in 1988. Say that Scott Cunningham was a trailblazer is something of an understatement. Firstly, he was a Wiccan in the days when Wicca was relatively new. He was friends with Raymond Buckland, studied and attained his 3rd degree under the Serpent Stone family, and also studied with Raven Grimassi. He was attending college at San Diego State University, having enrolled in 1978, but left the university in 1980, already having published more works than some of his professors. His prolific and tireless work ethic seems to have been inherited from his father, Chet Cunningham, who published over 200 books during his own career, mostly westerns and novels. Where Scott broke from tradition was regarding his views of Wicca as a solitary rather than a coven-based and initiatory practice. While many had heard of Wicca, there were few resources for those who wished to practice it outside of a coven. Recall that there was no internet to speak of in 1988, with commercial internet service providers first appearing in the US and Australia around 1989. There were computer bulletin board systems, if one knew where to look, and services like Archie and types of more primitive electronic mail, but nothing offering the ease of research available today. So a book like Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner, that one could get at a bookstore or a library, was literally revolutionary. It was also revolutionary in terms of Wicca itself, with some practitioners saying it wasn't a legitimate way to learn, or that secret knowledge shouldn't be revealed in that fashion. However, Scott pressed on, and in his life and posthumously published some 25 or more books in his short life. So what is Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner? It's pretty much what it says it is. It's obviously dated. In it, you'll see Scott speaking of music and referencing the purchase of music on cassette tapes. For those of you who might not know what this is, before you bought your music online, you could get it on compact discs. These were smaller versions of the retro records that you can now pay a fortune for at Best Buy and Barnes & Noble. And before that, there used to be record stores where you could buy actual records, albums, and 45s that contained 2 songs, an A-side and a B-side. And you could also purchase your album on a smaller format called a cassette tape. These were nice because they were portable, and you could get recorders that you could use to record from the radio station, which was great when American Top 40 was playing their weekly show. And if you had a dual cassette machine, you could make actual mixtapes, which is where the term came from. But I digress. Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner, is really a series of lessons that guide an individual through the basics of Wicca to the point where he or she is able to work competently and confidently in solitary practice. It's not meant to be more than that. It's not meant to be an instruction manual for beginning a coven. It's not meant to be a complete system. It's a starting point, and Scott is very clear about this. It's not meant to be the only book a student will ever read. What will you find in the book? In the opening chapters, there's an introduction to Wicca that takes someone through the basic theory, tools, rituals, deities, and an understanding of what initiation is. In the second section, Cunningham discusses the practice of Wicca, including a discussion on self-dedication. And in the third section, he provides something of a complete book of shadows that an individual could use as is, or which one could use as a model for one's own. Throughout, Cunningham is constantly advising the reader to make the practice one's own. From the outset, it's apparent that Scott is not trying to initiate some sort of Wiccan tradition with this text. Rather, he was giving readers the tools to build something for themselves, offering tools and lumber for someone to start construction on their own solitary practice. Where he offers chants and rituals, he is consistently reminding the reader that any of these can and should be changed. Where he discusses altar setup, he reminds the reader that it is suggestion only. And as we were discussing teaching earlier, I would certainly recommend Scott's books, including Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner, not only as a good book for an individual who wants to understand Wicca, but for someone who wishes to teach. To understand means to teach a complex subject to someone who doesn't yet have an understanding of the subject. This is a book that takes someone from ground zero to approaching, if someone practices what's in the book for a full year, about a first-degree initiate level. I say about because much of what one learns is experiential. It consists of the things that wind up on the pages of one's own journals or book of shadows. So on its own, reading this book won't give anyone a first-degree level of knowledge. But if someone takes it to heart, lives it through for a year, I think anyone would be hard-pressed to say they weren't a legitimate witch. It's an older book, but it is still relevant today. And taking a look at our Pagan FM Almanac, today is January 17, 2026. The waning crescent moon is at 1% illumination, and the new moon will be on Sunday, January 18th. This is the Capricorn new moon, and the moon will enter Aquarius. January 18th is also the day of the Celtic mother goddess Danu. On Tuesday, January 10, the sun will enter Aquarius, bringing a time of more hope for the future, being open to the dreams and change and connecting to friends and a more positive outlook on life. After all, spring isn't that far off, so we can start looking forward to new things, and Goddess knows we can use it right now. Let's hear some more music.
Dark mother, take us in. Hecate, carried one, let us be reborn.
Down we go to the realms below, we bring with us our light to show. Up we rise with the dark in our eyes, we bring to light our peace of the night. Down we go to the realms below, we bring us darkness, ancient ricochet. We return dark stars during our peace of the night. Queen of darkness, ancient ricochet. We will return dark stars during the day of rise. We queen of darkness, ancient ricochet. We will return dark stars during the day of shame. Queen of darkness, ancient ricochet. We bring us turning cold and stirring pale rain. Queen of darkness, ancient ricochet. Feel the turning cold and stirring, let us be reborn.
Talking about Loki, y'all.
Loki.
All right, we just heard Crow Women with the Dark Goddess medley from their album Crow Goddess, and Shining Wheel Pagan Chorus with Loki, one of my favorites for many years now from their album Chance of Balance. And right now we're going to hear our herb for the week, or herb of the week, and this week we're talking about fennel. This past week I was making some chicken soup, and one of the herbs that I love to use is fennel. Fennel is an interesting herb that it has a lovely aroma and flavor. It's also known as anise, so it has kind of a licorice aroma. But when I'm making soup, I'm using the bulb and the stems. It has a delightful crunch to it, and it goes well in so many things. It's used as a part of French bouillabaisse as well, so that may be one of the reasons I've grown fond of it. Environmentally, growing fennel can attract certain butterflies and other pollinators. Used after meals, the seeds are said to help freshen breath, aid in digestion, and relieve gas and cramps. In the New World, Puritans used to chew on the seeds during long church meetings to stave off hunger and keep from becoming drowsy, thereby earning the nickname meeting seeds. But in the Old World, they were known more for mystical purposes. Depending on who you ask, fennel can be used for protection, to enhance psychic abilities, or for purification, for strength, and for courage. As with most things, I find that what people or books might suggest, what really matters is how they work for you. Each of us is unique, and each has our own path. As for growing fennel, in some places, it can grow perennially, but many gardeners will grow it as an annual. Again, it's up to you. Throughout much of the U.S., we may not have an environment suitable for growing it as a perennial herb anyways. But like last week's, or the week before last, when we spoke about sage, fennel is another that can benefit any cook or a kitchen witch. And this week, in our Oppression Watch, it seems that each week the rhetoric and threats are escalating from the Trump administration against people of this country. But sadly, it's not just the Trump administration. In New Hampshire, the state in which I was born, a state with the motto of live free or die, it seems that freedom is now only for some, as the State House of Representatives just passed a bill restricting trans people from using bathrooms corresponding to their gender, just on the heels of a law preventing trans students from playing sports with students of their conforming gender. So trans hatred is alive and well and supported by the GOP in New Hampshire. They should say that for the GOP, the state motto should be live free and whoever we don't like can die. Meanwhile, back in Trump land, the man who can't even pronounce his own daughter's name will do anything for anyone who can afford his price. He seems ready to make a deal for the presidency of Venezuela, and the price this time was one golden Nobel Peace Prize medal. Maria Machado offered Trump her medal in an apparent bid to bring peace to her country. Unfortunately for her, I'm afraid she doesn't recognize just how evil and duplicitous Trump actually is. Firstly, she's a woman, so it's unlikely Trump will let her actually run her own country. And if he does, he'll have guardrails around her. Secondly, even if she eventually manages to run it, he will still manage to steal a huge chunk of their oil. She will, at most, be a puppet, and if she complains, he'll do something to her. Probably accuse her of drug crimes or put her in jail as well, potentially accusing her of bribery. Sadly, she just doesn't recognize what an evil, corrupt piece of crap we have as a president here. But she soon, unfortunately, will. He already has said, without any evidence, that her country lacks confidence in her. This is simply because of his own misogyny. It's part of his upbringing, where women weren't the equal of men. When women are placed in charge of anything by Trump, they are there only as window dressing, where they can do exactly what Trump wants, where Trump is actually running the show. We see this in the DOJ, where filings are Trump's words. Where pleadings are simply praising Trump. It's disgusting. Sometimes I wish I could leave. More often than not. Anyway, we're going to hear some more music and close out the show. Let me relax. Anyways, I'm finishing up the recording today. It is Saturday afternoon. I'll be getting ready to go listen to some beautiful, beautiful guitar music in Philadelphia. And I'll be getting next week's show ready. Love you guys, and just love each other, love on each other. We can use so much more of that in the world today. I'll be back in a few to close out the show.
Take one dark night in November, add one adult, a tin box with a lid, and a torch. Mix in a liberal sprinkling of children of various ages and place a few handfuls of well-chosen fireworks all together in the box. Then take out the fireworks one at a time, close the box, and read the instructions carefully using the torch. Light the firework at arm's length, preferably with a safety lighter, and then stand well back and wait.
Responsibility. Make sure yours aren't meddling with fireworks this bonfire night.
The birds are calling so sweet, sweetly, they're calling to me. Sitting alone, all that I is to hear them singing their beautiful song. It is the end of a perfect moment in time. This is my time of the day. I sit alone and all around me dreams live. Here in the copper-colored sky, it's where I come when I want to fly. See the clouds, they are reflected here in the waters around. Here where I swim, swimming through sky, down by the river. Come now, don't you want to come and dive in? The river is cold, holding the secrets all throughout time as she goes passing by, taking me down across the woods and over and through the sky as the clouds go watch from above, through all the trees whispering. From the sky down to the woods, I am but a passenger that is traveling through. Here in my dream, my thoughts get lost and words can escape my wandering mind. Still in my dream, I'll be the one to gather the words around me, so I can choose. They try to run, they try to hide away from me. When I fly through the colored sky, it's where I come when I want to fly. I stood out here once before with my head held in my hands. For all that I had known of this place, I could never understand. On the hills, the fires burned at midnight. Superstition plagued the air. Sparks fly as the fires burn at midnight. Stars are out and magic is here. Wished on the seven sisters bring to me wisdom of age, all that's locked within the book of secrets. I long for the knowledge of a sage. On the hills, the fires burned at midnight. Superstition plague the air. Sparks fly as the fires burn at midnight. Stars are out and magic is here. The stars are out and magic is here. So the sisters smiled to themselves and they whispered as they showed. And it was from that very instant I knew I would never be alone. While on the hills, the fires burned at midnight. Superstition plagued the air. Sparks fly as the fires burn at midnight. Stars are out and magic is here. The stars are out and magic is here.
All right, so that's pretty much this week's show. We just heard from Looping Star with their song Fireworks, Candice Night with When I Want to Fly from her album Sea Glass. I think that came out in 2024. And Blackmore's Night with Fires at Midnight, and that was from their 25th anniversary remastered Fires at Midnight. Great album. Also, this week we heard from S.J. Tucker, just heard from Looping Star, Emerald Rose, Tellergy, Denian, Gaia Consort, and we'll soon hear from Featherscale as we close out the show. Coming up next week, we'll be looking at Llewellyn's Complete Book of the Moon by Jessamine and Angelica, and we'll take a look at our own relationship to the moon. And for our herb of the week, we'll take a look at mugwort, an herb with some interesting history and some practical uses. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Hopefully I can do a live show. I'm still working on getting a second computer up and running, which I kind of need to do to be able to actually produce the show live. So, looking forward to it. Either way, there will still be a show next week. I will do one each week. That is kind of a commitment, at least for right now, as long as I can. And bright blessings, and we'll see you then.
Back to the place we know so so we declare it a parting of ways, bidding you hail and farewell.